Students, in last class we had seen the impact of geography on Indian history, then the introduction to Indian history, then how we have different kinds of races and different kinds of what the geographical features. And so in this map you can see the Himalayan regions in the north. Then you have your Vindhyas almost towards your northern western part. Then you have the Deccan Plateau in the south and the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. So you can see India is a peninsular country. You can see Arabian Sea in this region. Then you can see your Indian Ocean lies here. Then you have your Bay of Bengal, which is towards your east. So this is your north, south, west, and east. So you can see your Western Ghats, your Eastern Ghats, your Deccan Plateau, your Vindhyas, your Himalayas. So our neighboring countries is Pakistan, Afghanistan, then you have your Burma here, your China, your Nepal, and Tibet. So but Tibet is one of the occupied country now. So next, moving on. Special features of Indian history. India is the seventh largest country in the world. So India is the seventh largest country and second largest country in the population. So we are the second populated country. The first populated country is China. Even Herodotus has mentioned India as the land of largest population. So Herodotus is the father of history. He also had said India is with the largest population. The special features of Indian history are continuity of civilization and culture. So it is said that we have a continuity in civilization. India is one of the earliest historians in the world. So India is the earliest historians in the world. It has 4,000 years of continuous history and continuity of civilization and culture like China. So like China, India is also having a continuity in civilization and culture. Evolution in phases. So which are okay. Before going to evolution phases, we had continuity of civilization. So continued civilization means it's all started from Harappan civilization. Next, evolution in phases. Its civilization has developed in various stages and phases. With necessary improvements, we find a connecting chain of events from Indus to Vedic to Islam, and Christianity influence. So we have a Indus civilization, which almost flourished 3,000 to 4,000 years back. Then you had your Vedic period. Then we had influence from Vedic to Islamic people coming in and ruling us. Then you had your Christians, that is your Britishers coming and ruling us. So we have the influence of all different types of culture, religion, etc. Foreign invasions. India in general and North India in particular was often subjected to the influence of invasion of foreigners. How could we get influenced by the foreigners? Because basically it is for the basic necessities, basic goods they started traveling. Then so how North Indian had a great influence to northern invasion of from other country was it is almost towards the northern part, and we have connecting countries there. When you come to southern sea, you have only Sri Lanka, which is connected, and other all we have three peninsula, three oceans which is been there. So the North India, it is having neighboring countries, so because of that people come and invade us. Okay, like Greeks, Persians, Huns, Shakas, Arabs, Turks, Kushanas, Afghans, etc. People have come and ruled us, infiltrated into Indian and left deep impact. So when they all came, they just didn't come and go. They had lot of impact of their culture, their religion in us. All these invaders contributed to Indian culture and become a part of it. So all of these people, they contributed to the Indian culture. The English were an expectation to it. So English were also one of the causes for it. Though they ruled us for a long time, so almost for 2 centuries, Britishers ruled us. They did not become the part of Indian culture, but they didn't become part of Indian culture. But the Muslim rulers who had come before, they used to be part of our culture. But the Englishes, they almost tried to they used to impose more of their culture in us. South India had immunity from such invasions and developed a distinct culture of its own. But South India, what is the region is, we are almost towards the southern part, and there's Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, but almost the influence of in North India had more influence than the South India. So South India had its own culture with the Dravidian culture. Fourth one, dominant and tolerant Indo faith. So India is almost called as the state country with which has a lot of Hindus in it. So it is a dominant religion. India is home for Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs, Muslims, Christians, Parsis, and several tribal faith and practices. India believed in concept of Vasudaivaka Kutumbakam and Sarva Jahana Sukhino Bhavatha, meaning the whole world is a family and let all people be happy. So we have a dominant religion, that is Hindu. And yes, but it is not, we don't try to impose people to follow that religion. But we also say that other religions also, we welcome the other religions, and we make sure we don't others impose it. But even we don't impose, so we give space for everyone to live in their own space. Then fifth one, contributions to the world. India had given noteworthy contributions in the field of literature, philosophy, music, dance, architecture, sculpture, science, yoga, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, education, etc. So India, in the way of how it is in the name of, let it be civilization, let it be education, let it be dance, music, etc. We have contributed a lot in it. The architecture and culture monuments, including forts, hill forts, palaces, temples, tombs, and caves, are wonderful specimens of human artistic. So what happened during those time only, we had lot of architecture. Our kings had a lot of influence on the education system. Now also, if you go and see the olden forts, let it be any monuments, you can see writings on it, the depiction of it. So it talks about the various cultures, the way the monuments were built, the mindset which they had, each and everything of our kings. Excellent. UNO has recognized more than 30 historical sites as centers of World Heritage. So we have a lot of World Heritage sites. One among that is Rampi, which is there in Europe. Belur, such as hill forts of Rajasthan, and also your Belur, Alibi, all of those, such as hill forts of Rajasthan, Khajuraho, Konark, Taj Mahal, Jantar Mantar, Gaya, Sanchi, Ajanta, Ellora, Hampi, Pattadakallu, Madurai, Kanchipuram, Kanchi, Mahabalipuram, churches of Goa, etc. So all these are some of the sites of UNO which has recognized the UNESCO sites. Yoga and Ayurveda are the special contribution of India to the physical and mental health of man in the world. So yoga and Ayurveda also was given from India. The contribution of chakra, Sushruta and Patanjali are noteworthy. Hindustani and Carnatic music, Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, etc. So we had other forms of dances. Then we have mental and physical sciences, like we have medicinal science. Then we have artistic contribution to India. The great contribution of Indian mathematics have enriched the world with the concept of zero and decimal number. So we have the concept of zero and decimal number as well. When today's developed countries were passing through dark ages, India was at the height of its intellectual and spiritual glory. So, as India is a developed country, it's a developing country, okay? So we also, when the other developed country which has dark ages, where they had a lot of issues within their culture, but India was in heights of intellectual. We had a lot of people of intellectuals, like we had a lot of universities like Nalanda, Takshashila, Ujjaini, Pragya, Vikramashila, Kashi, Kanchi, attract the students from the different countries of the world. India is a country of attraction for foreigners. The fertile land and the huge wealth of India attracted the foreign invaders. The Greek, Persians, Afghans, Mongols, Europeans, etc. attacked India. Places of scenic beauty, hill station, the Himalayas, Kashmir Valley, the national parks of Kerala, beaches, the historical monuments are attracting the tourists from all over the world. So India is a country where we have a lot of foreign travelers who come to see the scenic beauty of India because of its culture, multilingualism, etc. Unity in diversity. So diversity means variety. India not only has geographical diversity but also diversity in every sphere of human activity. First one is physical diversity. India possesses diverse physical features. The coldest Siachen, the hot desert of Rajasthan, the snowy mountains of the Himalayas, and the evergreen forest, the plains of platitudes, and the coastal line, etc., which have added to the variety of flora and fauna. So physical diversity, our geographical diversity also is very unique in India. We have deserts, we have oceans, we have snowy mountains, we have evergreen forests, we have platitudes, coastal lines, and also we have different kind of flora and fauna. different kinds of animals, different kinds of plants and flowers. The second one is racial and linguistic diversity. There is a racial diversity in India. The people belonging to Dravidian, Negroid, Mongoloid, Alphans, etc. So we have different kinds of people, races like Dravidian, Negroids, Mongoloids, Alphans living here, inhabited in this country. Linguistic diversity is also another unique feature of Indian history. There are more than 1600 languages and dialects spoken. So we have linguistic diversity means languages. We have almost 1600 languages, and in the 1600 dialects means, for example, you have your Marathi. So in Marathi we have the original speakers, but there are some people who have been settled in different regions and they try to speak the other kind of Marathi. They use the kind of Marathi. Next, you have a social and religious diversity. India is regarded as a museum of religion, caste, cults, faith, customs, language, religious types, and social systems. India also has variety of food and dress habits. So we have different kinds of religion, caste, cults, faiths, languages, etc., and different dress habit, food habits also. India has both patriarchal and matriarchal family system. So for example, food varies when you compare to North India and South India. Dress styles also varies. And then also you have the patriarchal. Patriarchal means male dominant, matriarchal means female dominant family systems. Then you have monogamy. Polygamy, and polyandry. Monogamy means one man marrying one woman. Polygamy again, two men marrying one woman. Then polyandry means one woman marrying two, three men. So we have all such types of marriages practices. Then four great religions, namely Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, have originated in India. So Hinduism, you all know. Jainism by Mahavira, the Jains follow. The Buddhism by great Gautam. The Sikhism, where the Punjabis follow, have originated here. Other prominent religions of the world is Christianity, Islam, Jews, Parsis, and the subsects of all religions coexist here with great harmony. Means we don't fight here. It's a religious fight, communal fights come only when there is a deep conflict, or else we live in a great harmony. Economic diversity. All through the ages we find economic inequality in India. The resources are unevenly distributed. Means we have economic diversity because what happens is rich are becoming rich every day and poor are becoming poor. So in one hand we fight the rich people, on the other hand poor people. So economy is not distributed properly. Some regions and places are highly developed, but some are like slum. For example, if you can take Mumbai, so you have your Dharavi, the slum, and you can see near that you have all your stars living there. So this is the difference of economic, how people are suffering. The urban parts of India, some regions, some places are highly developed and some are underdeveloped. The urban parts of India are highly developed and can be compared with the city of the world, whereas rural India is comparatively underdeveloped. So some cities are developed, but the rural India is still not developed. Okay, because agriculture is it's the backbone of Indian economy. So if there's no agriculture, economy will not be there. So I think we have to support the rural people in getting developed and introduce them to technology of how they can do farming system, etc. In spite of all these diversities, there are many unifying forces that have kept India united, important among them. Because of this also we have different, now we saw diversity, now different kinds of unity we'll be seeing. First is geographical unity. Himalayas in the north and the ocean in the south have isolated India from the rest of the world and form a separate geographical unit. We have a separate geographical unit because in the north we have Himalayas, south we have the oceans. Then administrative unit. The administrative system of ancient India was mostly identical and uniform, which has been brought out by the Chanakya in his Arthashastra. So Arthashastra is a laws which was written by Chanakya. So in that he has written the uniform system, the administrative system, how to rule, how the administrators to happen. Then bureaucrats have tried to bring political unity. So we had unity during that time. Mayuras, Guptas, Rashtrakutas, Kushanas, Vardhanas, Chalukyas, Mongols, Mughals, Marathas, etc. have tried to bring political unity by expanding their territories. So it's not just the Indian people who ruled India, even the other invaders who had come, they had the political harmony with Indian people. Next is uniform education and literature. In ancient India, there was uniform education and literature, Sanskrit language and Vedic literature, including the epic Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita have instilled the feelings of oneness. So we have our great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana, which speaks about the life of Rama, Mahabharata, the two groups, that is the Kauravas and the Pandavas, which depict the in the it has been seen in the Vedic literature, and the Bhagavad Gita, which investigates the feelings of oneness. So Bhagavad Gita talks about the feeling of oneness. Sanskrit as the lingua franca, means for a long time they influenced the regional language. So Sanskrit was lingua franca. That means regional language for more. Then you regional language. Then you had Pali and Prakrit, were the language of the common people during that time. During the medieval period, Persian language played an important role because we had Arab invaders, Persian people living here. Later, during the British rule, English became lingua franca because they were ruling us, so they made sure that even we know English. After independence, Hindi assumed the role. The composite culture evolved during Muslim and British rule. So during Muslim and British rule, we had composite culture, Hinduism, Muslim, British rule. Hence, India have developed the spirit of tolerance and coexistence. So we tolerate every religion, every culture, and we coexist with them. Next is religion, social ceremonies. Though India is land of various religious castes, creeds, and sects, the people led a life of harmony. They participate in the religion, social ceremonies of each other, and often intertwine this as interested in a feeling of oneness. So yes, religion and social ceremonies means we have different kinds of social ceremonies. In what Hindus have different kind of ceremonies, Muslims different, so and Christians different. But we made sure that we go there, we participate, we be one with them. So we didn't see the differences because then only we'll have the feeling of oneness. Then reason changes. Our constitution of Indian policies, the government, the present economic and social conditions, the effects of globalization. So globalization has made lot of changes, okay, because of the developed technologies, everything, there's a lot of changes, and reduce the difference among the religion and castes. So now we don't have a lot of caste system where your constitution is written every people are equal, so you can't differentiate the Varna system now. The food habits, does customs, tradition, etc. are not much different from each other today, but we follow the culture, dressing style, let it be custom, we follow it according to our religion. This again has ensured unity among the people. Then too we have unity among the people, we have the brotherhood. So these are the different kinds of diversity and unity which is there in India. India is always called a multicultural country where we adapt so many things easily and we give space for others. So next we'll be dealing about the introduction of Karnataka history in our next class, students.